Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening. It depends upon where on this planet you are at this particular time, but also knowing that it's live streamed and it's also being recorded for future viewing as well. Well, hello, I'm Reverend William Conway. In today's presentation that I have, we're going to be talking about the one thing. It's a great book that can just help you unlock the potential that you have within inside of yourself. I tell you what, today has already been an extraordinary day. There has been so much activity that it just fills me with happiness, joy, just knowing that spirit is always unfolding, sometimes unpredictably. But it is our job to always be ready that no matter what comes at us, we take it head on and treat it for what it is a greater expression of ourselves and of this reality. So first off, I'd like to start off with a centering prayer, because Lord knows some of us need it more than others. So here we go. Just allow yourself to relax, to get into that seat, and allow it to support you, knowing that that chair is the manifestation of the totality of spirit. And in that assurance of that support, the universe is with us. So I know that there's only one power in this universe, that is the power of love. And through that love, all is expressed. Joy, happiness, all manner of movement are possible because of love. I know and I recognize that I am one with that power. I am one with that love. I express it in its totality right here and right now. And so in doing so, I proclaim my good. It is a good that goes out from myself to all existence. That I know that life is unfolding perfectly right here and right now. And in that knowing comes peace. And in that peace comes clarity. And in that clarity comes purpose. So right here and right now, my purpose is to be a beacon for all around, but also for myself. A beacon of love, a beacon of connectedness, of the one source of all life, spirit, the universe. It doesn't matter what you call it, it just is. The capital IT, I am that I am. And in this knowingness right here and right now, I am filled with such joy and gratitude that I release this word as law, knowing it is perfectly done right here and right now. So again, everyone, thank you so very much for joining me this morning. We're going to have a great time, or at least I'm projecting that out. So anyway, the book I want to talk about is called The One Thing. And it's funny how it came about. The author was many years ago. You may have remember a movie called City Slickers with Billy Crystal, and for whatever reason, right now, the other actor is slipping my mind. But the premise was this: that Billy Crystal and a couple of his buddies were from the city, and they were in a midlife crisis, and they went on one of those cattle drive type of things. And the main guy is this old crotchety type of guy, just very, very just crusty. I believe his name was Curly. Well, about halfway through the movie, during this cattle drive, Billy Crystal's trying to figure out what he's doing with his life, midlife crisis. I think his marriage was in turmoil, didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what to do. Well, he finally asked this guy, What's the secret? And Curly holds up this. Billy Crystal replies, your finger? He goes, one thing. Figure out that. And everything falls into place. And Billy goes, well, what's the one thing? And Curly replies, that's for you to figure out. And that's what this book is here to do today, is to help us figure out our own individual one thing. Now, there's various sections of this book. And it starts off with basically 5 big ideas. First thing is, not everything matters equally. Though I think a lot of people seem to think that is true. Second is multitasking. What are the thoughts about that? And we'll find out. And discipline. Then comes willpower. And then the idea of focus. So the one thing is about how to focus your thoughts and your energies to get what you desire. And when you can figure that out, a lot of things will start to line up. But the idea is this, and it's called the domino effect. And I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but when you think about big tasks or what you want to accomplish in the future, you see the totality of that goal. And sometimes that goal might seem insurmountable. But physics have shown us through the use of dominoes. It's very simple concept, but it holds true. And the domino effect is this, that basically one domino can knock over another domino that's about 150% its size. So 50% larger, that one domino can knock down something that's 50% larger, and so on and so forth. And so as you go down this path and see the size and just what it actually means, imagine this. So you have a domino, a regular sized domino. I think it's by the 15th or 16th size domino, it can knock down a domino that's basically the size of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. At 25 dominoes, that theoretical domino would be about the size of the Eiffel Tower. Then at, I believe it's number 57, it could knock down a domino the size of Mount Everest. And it goes on from there. That seems like a very simple idea. And you might be thinking to yourself, what does that have to do with me? Well, the idea of a domino that could be the size of Mount Everest could be knocked down just by simply knocking down one domino. And that's the power that is within the universe. That's the power that's within you. That's the power of our thoughts. A very big premise of our philosophy and our faith and our ideals, that thoughts become things. So this hour, I'd like to help you focus, hone in, and concentrate that which you desire. Not thinking about the totality of where you want to end up at the end of the race. But what do we do now today? And that's what the one thing is about. Now, a lot of people, and I've grown up with this, that everything is equal as far as about importance. But I can tell you this, that when I create a honey-do list, or better yet, when a honey-do list is created for me, there is a laundry list of things to do. But not everything is or has the same weight. Some things are more urgent than others. Some things are just trivial things. But that's the key here. We need to start weeding out or letting go all of these ideas, all these honey-do lists that we have within ourselves, that we've created for ourselves, and narrow it down and concentrate it. Bob Hawke says this: the things which matter most, or the things which are most important, don't always scream the loudest. Now, how often have you found that to be true? I know that I've found that to be true. There's times when something very important is like it would be the last thing on that to-do list. But through this way of thinking and reflecting upon your life and evaluating what needs to get done today, those things which would otherwise be quiet or dormant bubble up to the surface and allows us to focus and shed light on what it is that we need to do. Most of those honey-do lists that we've created are kind of like a survival. They're the things that we need to get through our day. So it makes each day a stepping stone towards that what you want. Give an example, like we want to sell our house. Well, we know we need to redo the curtains or redo the blinds or wash the windows. We need new countertops. We need a new kitchen. We need a new pool. Whatever that case is, all of these things are things that definitely do need to get done to maximize what it is you want to experience. But again, what's the most important thing to do? What's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck? Then next comes multitasking. Once we figure out that list and we're able to condense it down and say we have a list that's got 20 things to do, like condense it down to the top 5. And then take it another step further and condense it to the top 1. And that's the thing which needs to happen first. Because this book also talks about multitasking. And I know a lot of people who work in office buildings and who have very strenuous jobs, very mental jobs. And they do a lot of things. They're like an octopus. They got their hands in everything. Well, this book talks about multitasking, and it says that it's not quite as efficient as one might seem to think that it is. Because what happens is, even though our minds can think of many different things, just like walking down the street, chewing gum, and talking on the phone. Our minds can do that, but when it comes to tasks at hand, realistically, the mind needs to focus on what it's doing. So when you are multitasking, it's saying that your mind has to switch gears, kind of like riding that bicycle, that 12-speed or 10-speed. You've got to, or better yet, when you drive a standard car, you basically have to engage the clutch to disengage the engine to allow that space to be able to change into second, third, or fourth gear, and then reapply the pressure. Basically, our mind is the same way. We take time to switch gears, going from one task that we half-heartedly did or did a 50% job on because something else came in the way. A great example is me trying to clean the house. Oh, I tell you what, I sometimes laugh at myself because I find myself going, okay, I'm going to clean the kitchen. And I start cleaning the kitchen and I start doing my things. But all of a sudden, I see a dirty rag. And I think, oh, I got to throw this into the laundry room because we got to do laundry. And then all of a sudden, the next thing is, oh, there's a load of laundry in there that's dry that I need to go out and fold. So I pull that out and start folding. Well, what happened to my kitchen? All of a sudden, I'm in the back of the room, in my bedroom, trying to fold clothes, and I start laughing at myself. Multitasking, even though we are busy doing stuff that's not giving us the bang for the buck. And so that's where, in this, trying and creating that list like I just talked about, to allow us to focus on what's important at that moment. Now again, these lists, these one things, don't have to be the one thing that's going to create something for us in the far future. They're things that we are focusing on now, working from the now, not from the future. So create that list. That's great. You're being organized. Condense that list and do it even a second time. Condense it even farther. And then that gives you the clarity upon which to focus your energy to allow you to complete the task, so that by the end of the day, you have truly accomplished and have set yourself up for the next day. Now, part of this multitasking and understanding that it's not as efficient as you may have been led to believe, to be able to change that requires discipline. And that's one of the more difficult things that I personally find, is the discipline to stay focused on a task. I am very easily get caught off guard by shiny things like a pro. Those little shiny sparkly things definitely throw me off course. So it's definitely a challenge for me, but it's one thing that I need to work on. And it's also a daily thing. But anyway, that's what in this particular part of the book, we're going to be talking about discipline. And how do we do that? How do we accomplish that? Because that really truly is, again, a building block to helping us fulfill our one thing. A great quote out of this book is, "Success is about doing the right thing, not about doing everything right." Now, I can understand that. There's a lot of times I've been the one that has multitask, and I've got things going left and right, and I'm doing everything, and my mind's scattered. But I was always trying to do everything right. I like the idea of this book, and it's helped calm me down because I don't have to have this wide peripheral view. It allows me to focus my energies on the task at hand. And when I find that I'm able to do that, one, the task is a little bit simpler than what I once thought it was going to be, but also this, it gets completed in a timely manner. Now, part of discipline is creating habits. And to create a habit, it takes a while. I remember back when we first got started at the center, when all those little rubber bands where you would snap yourself and remind yourself. I remember Dr. Joe had a class, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was called, but I do remember the class. And the purpose of that class that we had was to create a habit. But to create a habit, you had to repeat it or be consistent for X amount of days. for it to become a habit. And in this book, the one thing the author talks about, it takes 66 days to acquire a new habit. Now, for a person like me, that seems to be an awfully long time. Again, because I'm thinking about the totality, 66 days, that's 2 months. I have no clue what I'm going to be doing in 2 months, but to do something consistently for 66 days seems like an insurmountable task. But again, one day at a time, focus, discipline, every day is an easy task, which leads to a habit. Again, a building block to create the life of your dreams. Now, one thing that people are always talking about to help them with discipline and habits is willpower. I've been hearing a lot about that lately, having the willpower to, and it's the idea of somehow persevering through something that you don't want to do, that somehow your mental muscle is going to get you through this obstacle, this insurmountable task, that somehow without it, you are something less than. The idea that your willpower is always on call. And that simply isn't true. So it's okay, forgive yourself right here and now, that if there's ever been a time in your life where you haven't been able to keep up with the task that you wanted to complete because of willpower, forgive yourself right here and right now. I know that I'm forgiving myself. But knowing that willpower is like a turbo boost on a car. I'm always using analogies, but I think you can kind of understand this. So we're driving along and going down the road, and you're doing just fine. But when you need that extra boost to get you through something or to around an obstacle, and you put your foot on that gas, all of a sudden that turbo boost kicks in. But that turbo boost doesn't last all the time, because eventually you build up the speed to where it offsets itself in a sense. That's kind of what willpower is, that you can't have, or we don't use willpower throughout the entire day. The willpower is those moments where as we start to taper off, we're able to go that extra step. But also this, that as our enthusiasm for that particular moment starts to wane off and we use our willpower to go that extra little mile, know this, that our bodies are perfect. In today's technology, in today's all-inclusive, everything is instantaneous, everything is on our phones, everything's on our computers. Here's our phone. What's going on today? The first thing I do, I wake up in the morning, I go on Nextdoor to see what's happening in my community, because I need to know right now. Do I really? No. I could wake up in the morning, just sit back, relax, look out the window, and see the beauty and nature of life. And take that time to just take a few deep breaths in and just relax. So we need to take time to recharge our batteries. That's where I'm going with this. So that as throughout the course of the day, we are very productive early in the morning. We've had our breakfast, we've done our meditation, do whatever it is you do in the morning. We've had the time to really charge our batteries, so that at the beginning of the morning, when you go to work or do whatever it is you do, you have focus, you have power, you are being productive, as my lovely wife likes to say. What am I doing to be productive today? Sometimes I don't have an answer. And she just rolls her eyes, but that's okay. But be productive. But that energy level goes down. And I know you know what I'm talking about because it always happens. And it's one of the things I love about the French culture is that they shut down. As far as I know, I've never been to France. I've only seen it on TVs. But I hear that they, one, are a great people. It's a great country, but they take time to take naps in the afternoon, even when you're working. Can you believe that? Can you imagine America to where you're working and then your job says, okay, it's time to take a half hour, go take a nap or whatever and come back to work. But from what I understand and from what I've heard, that people are very, very productive, even though they get a lot of time off. And that's where balance comes into. And that's the next segment of this book is how do we create balance? Because in balance is nature. And obviously, if you've been coming to the center, nature is spirit, God, the universe, the one thing, the power. Imagine yourself trying to hold a bucket of water. And as we hold it off to our side, if you've ever had to carry dirty water or something outside or something like that, you know what I'm talking about. You've got to kind of lean to counterbalance. But if you had two buckets of water to where they were both equal, you remain and sustain that balance within yourself. Life is very much like that. So here we are, very productive and focused on our work and what we need to do to create the revenue, to create the lifestyle that we want. But oftentimes, we don't allow ourselves the off time to create balance. And so we're, in a sense, walking around with a bucket of water in one hand, getting a sore back, getting weak knees, getting a headache. But if we would just learn to enjoy life and put things in perspective and to go back to balance to where we have that off time, that other bucket of water in our hand, which allows us to, again, become centered and balanced, we find that our life becomes much more enjoyable. And the times that we do have to work or be productive or creative, that creativity, that energy is there at a moment's notice to be able to help us and propel us to that next step. Now, a lot of times in our culture, we think that bigger is better. Remember back in the 70s or the 60s, our cars, boy, they were getting to be like boats. I remember one of my first cars was a Buick Electra 225. Talk about a boat. I think Carnival Cruise could have rented that thing out and sailed around America. I mean, that thing was humongous. So the idea of bigger is better doesn't always hold true, because as the gas prices, remember that gas crunch in the early 70s when gas prices, you think gas prices are high now. Back then when they used to be like 25 cents and it jumped up to 50 was like, oh my God, that's like going from $2.50 or $3 up to $6 today. I mean, that's just ludicrous. But what happened is the cars got smaller, fuel efficiency came up, and so we got more bang for our buck. And so that's where in this part of the book, he's talking about big isn't necessarily good. He says here, when big is believed to be bad, small thinking rules the day and big never sees the light. No one knows their ultimate ceiling for achievement, so worrying about it is a waste of time. Isn't that true? Every single day in my life, I'm still wondering where my ceiling is, because I tell you what, things happen and things come up that I would have never thought would happen. But when they come into my path and I look at it and go, Am I up to that challenge? Now, it may have been something that I've never done before, never thought about, but when I think about it and look at it, there's something inside of me that says yes. So when you're talking about something being big or too big of a task, it definitely is not the case, because again, we're talking about the one thing. Let's go back a little bit. Talking about prioritizing, breaking it down. So a task that you may have in front of you, or you may have been given, break it down into segments. When you can break it down into fractions, those fractions can then be easily handled. You can wrap your mind around it, be able to figure out that solution for that problem, which then, with that, like the domino, again, look at how this thing is falling together. With that, with that idea and task completed, you're able to handle the next bigger domino, and so on and so forth, so that by the time that you've gotten to what you thought was insurmountable, it's a walk in the park. But it's that idea of taking this philosophy of the one thing and implementing it into your life. Now, excuse me as I'm scrolling down, but that's just the way that it is. I've got a lot of stuff written down here. So now that we've talked about big is not necessarily the way to go, or you don't have to worry about doing the big, because we're always dealing with the increments of the big we're taking care of in the small. Here's the focusing question. What is mine to do? And I like that. We talk about it in our philosophy. What is mine to do? It's funny how, from my standpoint, in my spiritual journey, small questions like these have always been in the forefront of my mind. What is mine to do? Well, take a class, learn this subject, take care of this piece, help people out, be of service, be willing to go out on that small branch, that small limb, and help someone. Because by engaging in life and not just focus on my narrow path, it broadens my horizons, see the connectivity, the connectiveness of all life, which then gives me information upon which to learn and to grow. As I give, so I receive. It really is amazing to me how all life, in all manners, in all aspects, all life is using the same formula. I mean, we talk about the universal language being math, that regardless of what language you speak, whether it's Spanish, French, German, English, Hindu, Vietnamese, it doesn't matter what language you speak, because math is the universal language. It is a singularity of truth. And so when you can come from that standpoint, or not standpoint, but when you can see that and see that all life is a formula, it truly is a formula. And you see the beauty and the harmony. The Fibonacci sequence, if you don't know, that's the spiral, like the conch shell, the spiral. Well, that spiral that you see in seashells isn't unique to seashells. It's within all life. It's in all manner of existing and growth and in creatures in life. So that Fibonacci sequence is, again, represented in all areas. And so that's one of the things I like about this philosophy, is that I'm able now to see the idea and perfection that all life is connected, because I'm starting to see that in all aspects of my life, the formula, the process of going from point A to point B to end up at point Z, that formula is maintained. And when I see that formula and recognize that formula, that connectedness of life and spirit, again, it strengthens. It makes my faith concrete in knowing, not hoping, not wishing, not pondering, but knowing that all life is one life. But let me get back on track. That's focusing. Now, the focusing question, it is said here, is so deceptively simple that its power is easily dismissed by anyone who doesn't closely examine it. Again, we get caught up in the day-to-day activity of what our friends are doing or what we need to do at work. Again, our minds, our thoughts are like a flashlight on a wide beam. It's the intensity, the amount of looms that that flashlight that you're able to project out is diluted in a sense because you're thinking about everything. When you ask that focusing question, you're bringing your wide focus into a narrow beam. So the same amount of thought process that was scattered out is now focused in like a laser beam to help accomplish that task which needs to be done right here and right now. Some of the focusing questions that you may have that, and excuse me if I'm wrong, but I mean I've asked them myself, is the big one. Why am I here? What is mine to do? What must I do right now? What target should I aim for? And those are very big and very hard questions to ask because realistically, the sky is the limit. Truthfully, anyone and everyone has the potential to become anything they want. It's, again, through the focus of what they do day to day. Now, after you focus and after you've gone through these steps, the next step is, how do we create that habit? I talked about earlier, we talked about it takes 66 days to form the habit. And what's the purpose of that habit? When we start with the big stuff, see where it takes you. See where that broad idea helps turn you in that direction that you have an urge for. I have friends who are artists. I have friends who are pilots. I have friends who are mechanics. How is it that they became those things? When you have an infinite amount of directions to go. Again, starting off with a wide beam, seeing what's out there, seeing what sparks that interest, and then honing those skills and that focus to start to cultivate the habits and the patterns to get you to that which you desire. My class today isn't going to tell you what's yours to do. My class today is to help you, with the tool, help you with the tools that get you to where it is you want to be, want to do, and how to live. It's up to you to determine that. Living in a big, huge mansion like a castle, That's nice, but that's not, what I'm focused on. That's not what I'm going towards. I'm more the type of person that would, love to build my own house, one of those shipping container houses or tiny house. But again, those are thoughts. Those are wide beam thoughts. Now, am I doing anything today to actually maybe have that happen in the future? No. But that's okay. But that's not what my focus is. My focus is on my career that I have. Partly being a reverend, but partly being an artist in the genre that I do, which is sandblasting and creating artwork in glass and stuff like that. So I'm constantly doing things to cultivate and to hone my skills. So to form that successful habit, you also need to include a time frame, such as right now or this year. Again, these are ideas, these are questions or statements that only you can answer. I can't do that for you. I can only show you tools that you can have and do that will help you along to be able to create that life that you want by focusing and determining what your one thing is. Now, as I move forward through here, excuse me as I scroll through, here's a big thing. Live with purpose. That's sometimes when I see, my kids, or when they were growing up, they were just playing out in the street, playing in the yard, but there wasn't really a purpose. But as we grow up and as they matured, they start focusing in on what inspired them. When you live with purpose, that's a great starting block. That's like the cornerstone of the foundation of the life that you're creating. You can start living your life of purpose right now. It's relatively simple, and this isn't in the book per se, but just this. If you know that you are part of the universe, or that everything that the universe is, you are. If you can understand that, and if you are coming from that standpoint, when you come from the vantage point or the emotion of love, and you give of yourself to those around you, doesn't that feel good? I know it makes me feel good. I tell you what, when I do something for somebody that they weren't expecting, I don't necessarily need a pat on the back or a attaboy type of thing. So, those are great to get. But I tell you what, when I did something that I knew was out of the ordinary for me, as simple as helping somebody put groceries into their car because I see that they've got a walker. And I just take 30 seconds out of my day and just said, would you like some help? Let me help you. And I walk away. I tell you what, the feeling that I get from being of service and to helping someone out, it's recharging your batteries. It's a way to recharge where you feel depleted, like the weight of the world is on top of you. And you can take that time to help someone else out who isn't necessarily looking for your help, but you can just see that there's an opportunity to help someone, and you take that. I tell you what, it charges my battery. And if you haven't done it, I encourage you to do that. And call the center and get some feedback and let me know if that is indeed the case, where you've done something for somebody when you're having a piss poor day and you do something for somebody, all of a sudden, doesn't your day, your outlook on that life turn around? Doesn't it fulfill you? Doesn't it give you energy? And doesn't it seem that it gives you a sense of focus? Again, focusing on what you thought you had lost focus on, but now you've regained that clarity. Now, part of this is also living with priority. I know that in my own life, and I'll use myself as an example. I've got, again, I do a little bit of everything. But there's a priority to my life that is there, but sometimes I'm not consciously aware of that. But when you can live by priority, which means staying focused on what you want to accomplish, again, those minute tasks that add up to become something greater, to help get you closer to that which you want to create or experience, that definitely helps you out. Oh, here's a great quote. It says here, connect today to all your tomorrows. It matters. Again, we're talking about focus. We're talking about being conscious. And it's funny, all of a sudden I say that word and I'm talking about how to help you find your one thing, but being conscious, isn't that what we're talking about spiritually? Okay, I'm getting pumped here. Spirituality isn't a time or a place or a corner in your room. Spirituality is it is your life. It is the culmination of everything. Connect today to all your tomorrows. It matters. It really does. So as we think about tomorrow, what it is we want to experience, going on vacation, how about that? Let's take going on vacation. For someone who used to not take vacations very often, I tell you what, man, going on vacation multiple times a year is pretty focused. But to be able to do that, that's what I want to experience. What is mine today? What's the one thing I can do today for tomorrow's experience of vacation? Now, that's not to say that I'm living my life in the future. There's a plan in the future of what I want to experience, but I am always present. I am always focused on what I need to do today, right now, with, again, the honey-do list that I've created for myself. I've condensed it down, I've narrowed it down, and I'm focused on today. But always that honey-do list is also part of the bigger experience of the future life I want to experience. But it all flows, it's all connected. But once you learn the formula on how to focus your energies in the now, the future does and will happen. A big thing that we need to do as far as priority is to block time off. I know I have some friends that constantly are working. They are constantly, no matter where they are, what they are doing, they are constantly thinking about work, thinking about what they've got to do tomorrow. And they aren't oftentimes present in the now. It's important, again, create balance in your life. Yes, when it's time to work, go at it. Balls out, gangbusters, go out there, do it. But also know that the balance is rest and relaxation. Turn that cell phone off. Even if you only do it for 30 minutes, give yourself that peace of mind, knowing that the world is always spinning. It doesn't necessarily have to be spinning in your head. Let's write that one down. The world is always spinning. It doesn't necessarily need to be spinning in your head. Ooh, that's it. Also blocking time for your one thing. There's things that we need to do today on a daily basis to get us through the day, to get us through our job or whatever it is we're doing. But that idea, that passion that we were first talking about, finding the purpose of your life, take time daily to cultivate that, to focus on that. And again, the one thing you can do today, and you're hearing me talk about it, and you may be thinking, but wait a minute, William, you talked about one thing, but then you're talking about one thing again on the same day. Well, guess what? The one thing doesn't have to be, it's not that you're focusing on or thinking about that one thing all day long. No, we're talking about in the now, at this moment, to be productive at the task at hand that needs to be accomplished. What's the one thing you can do today, right now, to help accomplish that? So when it's time to work and you're thinking about your job, focus on one thing that helps you and propels you and accomplishes that task. But when it's time to that what if in part of my life that I want to create, give that time, give that space, honor that portion of you, honor that balance within yourself. Because I can tell you what, we all are there for each other. We are all the living expression of the one life. But we are individualized. When we can come together and give of ourselves and know that that is the truth, we then are able to know that we are supported at all times. I tell you what, folks, I was kind of concerned about this book and whether or not I had enough content to talk for an hour about this. Because I can tell you what, my strong point isn't necessarily being in front of the camera, though it's fun. I love having discussions and talking and engaging with people. But this hour has come by so quickly, and we haven't even gotten through this whole entire book. I tell you what, I'm going to talk to the higher ups and see. I've never done a book study, but I think I might like to do a book study about this. I think this is something very powerful. So again, as we wind down this day, and I want to say thank you so much to Swing Point Media for their help today in putting this together and being patient with me. I tell you, it's a hectic day, but you know what? Just accept it and know that it's unfolding perfectly. And at the end of the day, you can lay your head on your pillow and just with a sigh of relief and a big smile on your face going, that was a wild ride. But I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at the Center for Spiritual Living. We have a phone, 760-346-4649. Please, I'd like to, if you can donate and support our center and support this channel and support us in getting this message of inclusivity, get this message of the one thing to help each and every one of us create the life that not only we dream of, but that we deserve, but better yet, you have the power within you to create the life of your dreams. Through these teachings at the Center for Spiritual Living, myself and the other reverends, we are all here to help you get focused. Let's find out what that one thing is for you and help you focus your life to create the life of your dreams. Again, thanking Swing Point Media for everything that they do today. I'm winding this down, and I'd like to finish off with a prayer to just allow us to know that the universe is perfect. So as we settle into this time, this closing, I am filled with such gratitude, knowing that the one thing is the one thing, that one power, that one life, that one multitude of expression, that one expression that has many facets. Like I said at the beginning of this show, love. Love is the totality of all the facets, that one thing, that one power, that divine urge of creativity that we all have, that I know the truth for all, that creative spark is there. I declare right now that I listen to that divine urge. I listen to that inner voice. I say yes to that inner voice. I am so very thankful for this time, this class, this session. Its clarity in knowledge is giving new ideas to spring forth from that divine urge within myself. I know that divine urge is within all. And so as I recognize the oneness of all, recognizing the one thing is the expression of love through our actions, I am filled with joy. I am filled with peace. But above all, I am filled with gratitude. And in that gratitude, I release my word to the law, knowing it is the law. I release it and I say yes. And so it is. Everyone, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Share this with all your friends. Have a great one. Bye-bye.